Hello, everybody. Hello. Just before we start, can everybody switch off their mobile phones? Just for the duration of the speeches. And while you're doing that, there are 3 exits. One here, one at the back there, and one towards the lounge. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. His Grace the Archbishop of Tuam, Dr. Michael Leary, Reverend Father, ladies and gentlemen. You are all very welcome to this wonderful and historic event. It's an extreme honour for me to act as MC8 tonight for Luke Silk. It was with the greatest of pleasure that I wrote the preface to his wonderful book, Clonn the Hamper, A History. I have known Luke since his birth, and I am very proud of the achievements that he has made in such a short lifetime that has passed him so. 16 years of age. It's incredible. It is a great achievement for anyone to write a book. For somebody to produce a book at 16 years of age, it's just simply amazing in my eyes, particularly the book that you now see before you. This is a major work indeed, and I'm delighted to be involved in it. I would also like to take the opportunity to congratulate the people that were involved in the book and the people that gave him the information and all of that. And you know, it is an extreme proud night for him. They say that age is honourable, youth is precious. Luke, I have to say, has captured both of those qualities in his book. I would also like to congratulate his parents, Gerald and Marita Silk, and his siblings, Joseph, Ada, Mary, Jane and Lucia, for all their support throughout the time that he was working on this. And one may well ask, like, what is a townie doing down here in Barnacarrow and involved in a book on Clonn the Hamper? And a lot of people would ask that question, but I'm part of Clonn the Hamper at this stage of my life. And you know, I became friends with Marita many years ago. We're old and dear friends, and through Marita, when she started dating Ger, I became a very close friend of Ger's, and still am to this day. And it is indeed a wonderful place for me to visit. It's like coming down from Galway. I could be going to Australia, as the fella said, but I love coming down here, and it is really a wonderful time for me to be here tonight. At any time in the Red Gap, and any time down in their home, I was always made welcome by the Silks and by the Henrys in Clonn the Hamper. It was just an incredible, and of course Mary Potter with her tea. She always invited me down. I'd like to acknowledge all of that tonight. And just to mention that, you know, they've produced, Marita and Ger have produced their first author, but just going back a little stage further, my first book, The Shimmering Waste, and I won't go on about it, but just to mention to you that Marita, they gave me the encouragement and gave me the idea to write that book. Today, I don't know would I've ever written a word except for that, so I want to acknowledge that also. Now, there are many people associated with this book, and what I found fantastic about Luke was that, you know, we all see a lot of history books coming out now about the Great War and the various events, the Titanic and all this, and people want to record the major events in history. Sure, we all know those, they're well recorded. What Luke has done is so vitally important. He's gone back to where history begins, at local level. And this is so important, and to produce a book of that quality and of that depth in its small place, people would say Clonn the Hamper, really does show what can be done on the local level. And I would like to acknowledge that to him tonight. Now, I don't want to be going on, so I'm going to invite the first speaker. I'd like to introduce our first speaker tonight, Ms. Maureen Walsh, Principal of the Holy Rosary College, Montpellier, County Galway. Please, Maureen, if you don't mind.
Thanks very much. I'll just keep this very brief, just a few short words. It's not often that the principal of a school is asked to speak at the launch of a book written by one of the students. And it is indeed a great honour to be here tonight. Sister Sumter from the school is with me as well, and I think David Harkin is here as well. But it is a great honour to be here, and I thank Luke for asking me to do this and to write the foreword for his book. There has been, as we all know, a huge interest and a huge growth in local history in the last few years. I suppose partly caused by the gathering by local groups, heritage groups in different parishes. And indeed, as a direct result of this book, we have established a heritage group in our own school in Montpellier. We all, I suppose, are interested in our roots and where we came from. And as Father Todd said at Mass this evening, and where we go. So we look back to move forward. And as just been said, all history is local. And the interest in local is very, very important for all of us. As it gives us a sense of belonging, whether it belonging to our families or to our neighbourhoods, to our villages. I want to congratulate again Luke, this wonderful young man, who developed an interest in local history and especially in his village about 4 years ago, when the 1911 census first came out. And he talked to me in school about his interest in and the work he was doing. And I never thought that 4 years later we'd be sitting here tonight at the launch of his book. When Luke moved into transition year and there was a module of local history in transition year, it gave him the opportunity to do some more research, and he took that on board very well indeed. As you can see from the book in front of you, this is an absolutely incredible work. 236 pages of photographs, of writing, of snippets of information gathered lovingly over the last 4 years. From cures to family history to place names. A wonderful, wonderful collection of work. Now, collecting, I suppose, the work was one thing, but assembling it and writing it and editing it is another thing altogether. So for somebody of 16 years of age to achieve that is absolutely an enormous achievement. So well done, Luke. As you look through the book, you will be struck, as I was, by his attention to detail. The detail that he has gone into, the cross-checking. I know he has been literally all over the world in a lot of senses, from Clondahamper to, I know, to Newbridge near Montpellier, to Boston. Made contacts literally all over the world. But what struck me about Luke was his respect for the people that he met. His respect, especially for the older people of the village. He didn't want their story changed. And I think that speaks volumes for Luke, not just as a writer of this book, but as a human being as well. I'd like to congratulate Luke, his parents, his family, and everybody who contributed to this book. And I hope it sells well. I hope you send it to your relations in wherever, Boston, New York, anywhere that this book will be sold. I suppose Clondahamper is typical of so many villages in the west of Ireland and in Galway. There are very few of them have a young man like Luke Silk. I hope he continues to research, to publish, and on behalf of all in the school in Holy Rosary College, I'd like to congratulate him, to thank him, and as Father Todd mentioned at the Mass, for conserving a world that may be slipping by. To read the book is really to step back in time, and to do that, and in doing that, we step forward as well. We're very proud of him in Montpellier and very grateful to him for preserving the past of Clondahamper. So again, well done, Luke, and congratulations.
Thank you, Maureen, for those sincere words. You know, in Celtic society, the historian and sometimes the bard sang of past events, and these people were highly respected in the community in which they lived all those centuries ago. They were protected and privileged members of society, and were accepted in other petty kingdoms of that particular period. I witnessed Luke Silk in many historical adventures and was astonished at his approach to research at such a young age. He captured, for me, this great ancient tradition, and he set his own stamp on the history, which is so important in this publication. Luke has proven well that age is not an obstacle, or youth is not an obstacle, to anybody that wants to write, that's determined. And you know, as a person with many years experience, I'm well aware of the long hours and difficulties that was faced by this young man, and I really do sincerely appreciate them. Now I'd like to ask Vera Kane to say a few words from the village of Clondahamper itself. Thank you, Vera.
Hello everybody. Marita asked me last night, or Luke, to say a few words, and I said I wasn't the oldest living resident in Clondahamper, but they said I'd fit the bill. So I just want to say a few words about our community. You probably know that we're the last village in the parish of Kilrearan, and we're bordered by other neighbouring parishes, so we're kind of isolated. The bog isolates us, but we're a very close-knit community, and this can be shown by stations twice a year, which are very well subscribed to. That's what the child can verify. And fair play to Luke. He came up to me there a while back, and he got in contact with our relations. As you know, nearly everyone in Clondahamper is related to one or another, some way or another. And sure, I knew Ger all my life because we all went to Clondahamper school. Actually, I and a few more here, Fred Potter and Maureen Tiernan were the last, and Kevin Mitchell were the last 6 class in Clondahamper before he closed down. And then my baby brother Tomas was the last young child to be in Clondahamper before they all moved up to Barnajarnock. Now, Clondahamper, years back, as people might know, there was no electricity in our Lashton school, and half the village had electricity and the other half hadn't. But our half hadn't. But there was a house, Miskell's, Pauline Seal's grandmother's house. We all went to visit. And another thing about Clondahamper, women didn't lose their identity. Nearly everyone, married woman, was still called by their maiden name. My own mother, for example, even though she died this year, she was still called Una Lowry. Bridie Silk was called Bridie Miskell. Mary Potter was called Mary Lerner. Everybody, there was no Mrs. When I got married first and went to Abbey, and my husband is from Abbey, they called me Mrs. I said, don't call me Mrs. I said, there's no Mrs. down in Clondahamper. So I just have to say a few words. Luke, fair play to you, Luke, and we will continue the good work. And thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Now, at this moment in time, I would like to call on His Grace, the Archbishop of Tuam, Dr. Michael Neary, to officially launch Clondahamper, A History by Luke Silk.
Cumana Jeev, agus fáilte raibh Culligana, nócáid Starrowil seo agus muideach Seola and Lower Bra seo. Father Todd, Sister Assumpta, Maureen, and members of the staff of Holy Rosary College. Luke, yourself, the man of the moment, and your parents and family, people of Clondahamper and the surrounding area. It's a great privilege for me here on this Friday night to be with you to launch this work of Luke Silk, Clondahamper, A History. Someone said that if we don't know history, we will repeat its mistakes. And I can't remember who it was who said that a land without ruins is a land without memories, and a land without memories is a land without history. An ancient Roman historian said that history was a combination, on the one hand, of facts and events, and on the other, of their interpretation. And it's not uncommon, and I suppose many of us will have had the experience of people asking us about something or someone in our local community. And a moment of regret comes to us when we realise that the person or people who could have provided an insight into that particular situation, that they have died, they're no longer with us. We regret that we hadn't spoken to maybe our parents or grandparents when they were living, because they would have so much light to throw on a particular situation. And frequently it is as we get older that we begin to value what has contributed to making us the kind of people that we are today, with our various reactions and responses. Now, Luke Silk, in dedicating this book to the memory of his grandparents, I believe, has acknowledged the importance of the way in which tradition is passed on by word of mouth, oral tradition in a locality. But oral tradition, which, while it is so attractive, it can also be quite tenuous. Because if people emigrate, well, there's every chance that that oral tradition, or part of it, may emigrate with them and be lost to the local community. And for that reason, it is very important to commit oral tradition to written records and the various sources which we have. Recording stories of people and events which could otherwise be neglected or even lost. And in this, Luke has, while acknowledging the importance of oral tradition, realizes the significance of ensuring that that tradition is captured and transmitted to future generations. Now, when you reflect on the fact that, you know, even you were at Mass this evening, many of you, when Father Todd was celebrating it, that the oral tradition that passed on the memory of Jesus Christ, that was the way in which that knowledge of Jesus Christ was transmitted for about the first 40 years after his death. It was only then that there was a recognition that it would be important to commit this oral tradition to writing, and the first gospel then was written. And you can ask the question, if those gospels had not been written, where would we be today with regard to the story of Jesus Christ? I think you can apply something like that in Luke's situation, because inevitably the oral tradition, well, it will survive, but as it survives, it might become more tenuous, and there is the danger that it could eventually disappear. Now, something very attractive in any person will always surely be the way in which that person takes pride in his or her local area. I think it's a very, very attractive aspect of any person when they have pride in their local area. And it was this pride in Clondahamper that enabled Luke to make the sacrifices that he has made as a 16-year-old in producing this hugely significant work. And as you page through the book, you cannot but appreciate the chest-swelling pride that Luke has in his native area, in the fields and the stones, in the families and the individuals with which he is so familiar. Recognizing that immigration was deeply ingrained in our people, he is very conscious of things like the American wakes, which witnessed young men and women leaving for the United States and other places, at a time when mobility was not what it is today, and many of those emigrating back on in the occasion of the American wake would never return. So Luke has traced many of these people, and I believe that this book that we have the privilege of launching here tonight will be read with great interest in places across the world: Boston, New York, in New Zealand, Australia, and also, I believe, in the Far East, because when you consider the way in which people from Clondahamper brought the gospel of Jesus Christ to places through the Columban Fathers and others to far off places. I believe that Luke has provided an incentive to people in other communities to take the initiative and produce a history in their own area. The discipline and the diligence involved in producing a work of this nature is a clear insight into the way in which Luke, while paying attention to the detail, at the same time he was capable of marshalling that detail without becoming lost in it. And he has not only captured the richness, the beauty and the diversity of the area, but he also succeeded in involving us, the readers, so that we can enjoy what he has written and that to which he has introduced us. Now, in his introduction, he acknowledges that he became interested in local history. I think, Luke, you said it was at the age of 12. And inevitably then, and Maureen has alluded to this, the 1911 census became a great incentive for you. The chapter on local family history is riveting. It's very inviting, absorbing, and particularly for those of us who would have known some of the families in that area. I had the privilege of knowing one of the families particularly well. I worked with and held them in high esteem, and in fact our families go back over 40 years. I refer to the White family. Sister Patricia worked in Archbishop's House since 1995 and just died there 2 months ago. And I remember her family, Father Oliver and Furzy, and they're all now with the Lord. But this, and I'm sure that other families from the Clondahamper area will be able to take great pride in this work. The book will bring back memories for many, many people. Memories of an Ireland which has disappeared and where many customs are no longer with us. And I think of the